So, Brooke, I really love that concept of that you recognized that we're all as women or people enjoying these beautiful things, but they're made in a way that's at the expense of people.
Yes,
And
it's
ah,
exactly I think if people knew, right? I think if
yeah,
people knew and could see it, they wouldn't invest in these things. They
right.
wouldn't, I mean, I think it's we all exploitation, trafficking, like
Yes.
that's kind of what we're talking about here. Even though we can't see it, that is to an extent what's happening in a lot of
Yeah.
these cases.
Yeah. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
No.
Like I still remember when you explained to me what it's like and how this fast fashion industry, the people that are hurt by it,
Mhm.
I stopped. I mean, I immediately was like, I can't keep continuing to feed something that I know
Right.
is unethical. Mm.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's so much power in consumer behavior. There's so much power that we have
Right.
in those choices. And I think through awareness,
Yeah.
we can do better. And I think there are brands out there that are B Corp, that are fair trade, that are doing things differently by empowering and being transparent about
Yeah.
the way they do business. And it really, part
Yeah.
of the whole part of doing business is really looking at your supply chain. Who's making your things? How is it made? And
Yeah.
that is a way, that's an area that consumers typically are like removed from. And we're
Yeah.
trying to bring this whole humanness back to fashion
Yeah.
because also I think our consumers want to make an impact. They're the people who are giving donations. They're the people who are
Yeah.
supporting local, other women's groups or charities. And in some ways, fashion and the way we do fashion allows you to do all those things
Yes.
to give back by through basically investing in the things you choose to buy. You choose to buy
Yeah.
things better. And I'm not to say do not continue to give to charity, but it's a
Yeah.
different way to think about how can we also make a bigger impact? Can we bring human rights to business? And
Yeah.
let me tell you, we can. Like when I started this, big brands were like, oh my God, we can't be responsible for our supply chain. We can't
Yeah.
know. We can't, that's such a big thing. We can't know who's making our things, how it's being made. We can't uphold those standards that we have in the US for labor practices
Yeah.
someplace else in a foreign country. And I kept thinking, gosh, I'm one person and I'm young. I'm like 25 when I started Sapon. And I'm like,
Oh
if
my
I can
goodness.
figure this out and I have no resources
Yeah.
and I can go directly to where our artisans are making beautiful accessories, beautiful
Yeah.
fashion accessories, and I can formulate these conversations, these connections with these
Yeah.
women, why can't bigger brands? And
Absolutely.
so over these years, I've been trying to like, how can we build a really strong case study of doing
Yeah.
business well by people, by our community, by our customers, and overall by society as in itself.
Yeah. Well, and I love the backstory too. Knowing you and thinking of you in your early 20s and exploring Thailand and getting to know the people because you're such an investigative spirit. So
Totally.
I can only imagine the conversations that you had. And you lived in Thailand for quite a long time, didn't you?
Yes. So we originally moved in 2008. My husband and I both got married. We're from Lincoln, Nebraska, and decided to move to study to do our graduate degrees in Thailand. So we both study human rights. He had this like
Wow.
very clear vision. He was going to be an academic and do his PhD, which he did. But me, on the other hand, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this degree in human rights, this master's degree. But I loved how versatile it was. I love how empowering
Yeah.
it was. And I just kind of kept taking the next step, and which led me to working at the United Nations on human trafficking, which
Yeah.
opened my eyes to this whole issue of people being forced to migrate in search of work. And I kept thinking, as
Wow.
I'm meeting all these talented female artisans in the markets in Bangkok and just outside of the city, there's really a ton of potential. But these women travel 6 to 12 hours from their villages to sell their goods. So there's a huge market gap, there's a huge opportunity, but a lot of challenges along the way. And I kept thinking, this is like, how do we tap into that? How can we expand their opportunity more to a global market. And kind of the whole story of what the next thing, this kind of all happened in a couple months. The universe was like, well, here's your thing. I kept wondering again, what do I do with this degree in human rights? And
Yep.
Matt and I were in Myanmar, and we met this young, bright, vibrant woman who socially so incredibly talented and smart, but she was in a cycle of poverty. And I was like, how do you get out of this cycle? How, I'm studying this. How do you do that? And she said, education. And then I'm going, well, I'm sure I could figure out a way to create a scholarship for you to study with us in Thailand. Would you come to study with us?
Yeah.
And that was kind of my, like, in this conversation over a beer,
Yeah.
she was like, 100%. And I kind of thought, I could figure this out. And that's kind of when this whole idea in 2009, October 2009 kind of started. And I was on a mission for a couple months, started going to all these communities with women, seeing how they were making their things. Because like you said, very investigative. They're like, it's handmade. I'm like, you're hand making silk. Like, I need to see this whole process. And I was totally blown away that this is a craft, and it's so talented and it's so time consuming, but these women have perfected it. And so I continued to buy goods from these women
Yeah.
at the wages they set. That's another topic, but fairly. And then I came back to Lincoln, Nebraska with trunk, with my suitcases, and had a trunk show at my parents' house. And all the
Oh,
profits were going to go to this scholarship. And everything sold, and people were asking more. Like, I want that bracelet. And I had stories, of course, with all the things that were being made. But that's kind of what started it all. So the next month, she came to Thailand and lived with us and studied with us. So
oh,
it happened
wow.
very quick, but it was kind of crazy because we were 25 paying for our own education and now paying for her education. But it was like such a challenge and so invigorating that it took me like 4 years to write my thesis, because I
Yeah.
was so excited about building this whole opportunity
Yeah.
for women. And
Yeah. We're
so that's
living
kind of
it.
how it started. And that was like the start of it all, was actually creating a scholarship for a girl named Mary too.
Oh, you know what's I love about that is because I'm all about helping people with personal power
Totally.
and getting stronger mentally and emotionally, and listening to you and knowing you and hearing these stories. I'm just in awe of it. Is one thing when your legacy is um, just about you, but I love when a legacy is carrying it forward. And
Hmm.
so you took your own empowerment, and then look at you now, you're empowering so many people, which is such a beautiful legacy.
Yeah.
Is this something that you have seen as you age and as you get, I mean, you're still young, but as you age and as
Yeah.
you look back, is this the thing that you want to go, wow? Um, well, actually, that's the question. What do
Yeah.
you want to give, the message that you want to give to
Yeah. I think
everyone?
it's, I think it's so, I don't, at the time when we were starting this, I was like, what are we going to call this thing?
Yeah.
And then it popped, I was like, we're connecting women globally, creating opportunities, all the, and I'm like, what's the word for bridge in Thai? And it's Sapon. And that's what,
Wow.
what Sapon means is bridge. And it's bridging and creating opportunities where opportunities don't exist. And it's not giving a handout to somebody. It is literally, and I think we have this all in us. We all have a gift to share to somebody else.
Yeah.
We all have this gift to help somebody else's dreams or opportunities
Yeah.
become real. And we can be that bridge for somebody else. Just, I mean, in a lot of ways, we were the bridge for Mary too. But like, I knew if we invested in her, she was
Yeah.
going to invest in like the millions, because she just had that spark about her. And she did.
Yeah.
She graduated, and her first job after graduating was working at the United Nations in Myanmar and then in Parliament. And then since then, she's helped basically teach so many other kids and women English. She's inspired her friends to buy homes. She came from nothing, her and her
Wow.
mom. And so when I look at that, I'm like, that's a whole massive ripple effect. And I think it
Absolutely.
is, when we look at ourselves as a power of one, there's nothing, there's not,
Yeah.
but the power is when we extend our gifts and opportunities to other people and invite them into that.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
it's richer and richer. And again, even after we paid for Mary 2 scholarship, we went back to our artists and said, okay, what does empowerment look like to you? And they said, Brooke, we don't need a scholarship. We don't need a new sewing machine.
Yeah.
If what we do need though is opportunity, because we know how to
Wow.
take care of ourselves. We know how to take care of our families and our, and I thought about
Yeah.
that. I was like, that totally changes my shift of like, when you were trying to
Yeah.
help, our intentions are good, but do we ever sometimes go and ask those people, what do they need? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
assumptions and they're like, we just need the
Yeah.
opportunity. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
we can create
And
opportunity.
isn't that
I know
amazing?
a ton of
Yeah.
women in the US who are dying to have quality, beautiful products
Yes.
that stand for something that they can wear proudly.
Yeah.
And it's also something that's made with quality. So it's going to last forever. It's going to last the time,
Yeah.
a long time because of how intentionally it was made, the products it was made by, the materials, all that goes into that
Well,
whole
and
sustainable
I wish
aspect.
I wish our viewers could actually,
Feel it.
yes, like
Yes.
that this is my girl right here, right?
Yes.
But
So
if they
beautiful.
could feel the buttery
Yeah.
soft leather, I mean,
Yes.
and see the
The
beautiful
lining.
stitching
Yeah.
inside,
Yes.
and then the hardware. To me, I had no trouble at all replacing all of my designer bags with Sapon bags. No trouble at
Which
all
is a
because
huge, let me just say, it's a huge mic drop. Like when you say, and I tell women, I'm like, I have customers, you're
yeah,
included in this, who are like, I don't identify with that anymore. And
no,
to change, I mean, that is a huge compliment and a testament
yeah. And I didn't
to
sell
Sapon.
them.
And to,
I actually trashed them. I did not sell any of those designer bags. And it was because I couldn't unsee what you made me see. I
Mhm,
couldn't unsee it. When
mhm,
I know that people are having serious struggles and they are,
right,
I'm into trauma and they're having big T trauma and little T trauma
100%.
all over us as women getting to have a name that is known or whatever it is, right?
Mhm,
That was devastating. I was like, not
right.
on my watch, you know.
Mhm.
I was just, you can't unsee it once you see it.
No, you can't.
Yeah. The other
You
thing is
can't.
now, I mean, I have to be really honest about this. I love the do good part and I believe in the do good part. I believe in the human rights because you've taught me about human rights.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful for that. But I also really like the bags better because
Thank
they're
you.
my style. They're classic. They
Mhm.
are unforgettable. They're now gifts that I give, and the appreciation whenever I just got Jeff's mom one for her 80th birthday, and she absolutely loves it, and so proud to carry it. So, um,
That's
it,
exactly how we want you to feel, with just such pride and just so good, because you deserve to feel so good.
yeah, you're so sweet. So, and then we also want to talk about because something that I think that gets missed is um, as women or just as people in general, we keep saying that as women, more women
Mhm.
are prone to carry this bond, but we get so excited about all these things that these big movements and these moments, but behind these movements is some real painstaking moments and some real resilience that has to happen. You've gone through so many things with your business, and then you fought for it to be a B Corp. Tell me about your resilience through getting it through that process of being a B Corp and fighting to get your business to be what it is today, because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you. It is such, we are one of 7 in Nebraska, the first product-based B Corp. They're growing, but like we need them to grow faster. We need more businesses to join the movement. But
Yeah.
it isn't the easiest. It's not a check mark. Oh, we got a certification. It's super easy. It took us a year to go through the whole like process. Um, but I will say it's interesting because the way I built Sapon, if we would have applied day one of Sapon when I started it 15 years ago, nothing, things haven't changed. So how we do business is the exact same way when we started it, in terms of like our procedures or operations, in terms of like our contracting or how we work with our people, hasn't changed.
Wow.
I really wanted to bring human rights into business because that seemed the most salient, that seemed the most honest, and that seemed the most sustainable. So,
Yeah.
how do we put people in a position of power to protect themselves, advocate for their own well-being, their agency?
Yeah.
And this is really what B Corp is about, is about people, community, planet. And it had been several years. I was like, why get that kind of that valid, like, why do I go through that process? Why should I be a B Corp? Why should I, go through this extraneous process where you have to show and demonstrate how do you do all these things?
Yeah.
When I know we do the things right by people. And it dawned on me when I'm like, this is hard the way it is, right? It's hard growing a business, a brand, and it's hard
Oh, yeah.
going into communities and rooms when you're like, this is why we need to be, taking care of our people. And
Yeah.
why am I like fighting? It's already hard fighting against the grain even more when I could be
Yeah.
surrounding myself with people who think like this already. And how can we
Yeah.
grow together? How can I learn? How can I also give back and share my experiences over 15 years of building from the ground up
Yeah.
a business? And so that's what was like the aha moment. It's like, I'm in
Yeah.
the wrong room. I'm not in the right room. And I'm making this harder on myself for what reason? I need to be in the room where people are thinking like this,
Yeah.
and it's just growing, right? And so it was
Right.
a very hard process. Like I said, it
Yeah.
was a year before we got through it all. And
Yeah.
on the other side of it, it's an because again, I kind of pride myself on being a human rights like champion,
Yes.
advocate, like expert. And
Yeah.
I was very excited about the whole process because it gives you a roadmap of how to do business better
Yeah.
and what you can do. And like, there's so many ways we can improve the way we do things. And I didn't have that roadmap. I was building it
Yeah.
on scratch. Like, no one shit said, here's how you build a fashion
Yeah.
brand. Here's how you build a supply chain and how to do it good by people. I just started doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I advocate for being a B Corp. Even if you might fall short of the metrics now, it gives benchmarks and milestones for you to, as a business, to reach.
Yeah.
And that pays that pathway. Like, you don't have to figure it out yourself. It's like, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. Wow. There's so many layers of inspiration with you, Brooke. Like just knowing your life and knowing the things that you have even personally gone through and
Mhm.
fought through to get to a place to be a female business owner that is a B Corp, that
Yep.
is, I mean, the mission alone is amazing.
Yeah.
But the legacy of the work and the way that, which some of your bags, by the way, are on Poshmark now. Did you know that? They're making their
Yes.
way to, I'm like,
They're like,
wow.
I'm going to recycle and reuse this. I'm like,
Well,
yes.
and that, yeah, sustainable. I just
Right.
love that. I absolutely
Right.
love that. So there's so many things. I love having this conversation with you, and I definitely want more people to hear your story and to hear the importance. Another thing, the last thing I want to hit on, because this really kind of threw me for a loop, is human rights is not new and it's
Mm.
not just American.
Right.
Yeah, tell me about human rights. Like I know I won't make you go into the history lesson, although
Oh,
I
I
know you
love it. But
could.
yes.
But let
Yeah.
our viewers know for a minute about, because that my mind went, oh, this is not a trending thing. Human rights has been around for a long time, and it came out of atrocities, like
Right.
absolute
Yep.
atrocities.
1948 is when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights came to be. And it was after, World War II, when we kept saying,
Wow.
okay, world leaders came together and said, we can't have this happen again. What do we
Yeah.
need to do? What do we need to put in place to ensure this doesn't happen? And it came down to as humans, what are the basic fundamental human rights that we all basically are granted? And that's where it stems from. And I think today it's nothing, it's like the most resilient form of, and like North Star that you can follow. Um,
Yeah.
and I just think it's so empowering because I might have a different belief system. So it honors belief. It's like it honors that all. And maybe because
Yeah.
we have different opinions, doesn't mean rights are taken away. The access to education, the access of clean and safe
Yeah.
water, health, there's certain fundamental things that can't be taken away from one another. And also,
Yeah.
because I have this human right doesn't mean it doesn't take away from each other's. So I think there's some, especially nowadays,
Yeah.
I highly encourage the viewers to go back and just like dig into the research on what is human rights, how did it come to be, because
Yeah.
it's more than ever relevant in today's world, and how we're needing to come together again, and
Yeah.
find that humanness.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. I'm so glad that you shared that. And having you today, you embody empower me. You embody the whole concept of becoming our strongest self, because I think the natural progression of when we step into our strongest self, the natural progression is that we pull and lift others up to step into their own strength. And oh, I could not have a better guest for the work portion of this Empower Me show, and being able to really show how you can be empowered in your work and have purpose and inspiration and ultimately leave a legacy.
Mhm.
And your legacy is massive, and I hope to see it continue to grow, because it makes me so happy when I see someone carrying a sapon or hear of a celebrity that has done a
Yeah.
shout out. It's always exciting, because Sapon is definitely a name that needs to be well known, and I would love to see women everywhere carrying bags
I would
with
think
purpose,
with purpose.
and something beautiful. I still wear the Something Beautiful t-shirt all the time,
Yes.
because
Do something beautiful. We all have that
do some,
next right opportunity to do something. And I think it's
yeah,
from any of this work, it has been women have trusted me in their stories and in their journeys. And I just
yeah,
think the do something beautiful really just hits to the core. I think when we do service and we help others, like that fills and lights us up so much. It is that human nature of like doing good for others is part of being happy and happiness. So I
yeah,
invite you all, and I would love to hear more of your stories of how people are doing something beautiful, how people are making a difference, because it is such a beautiful ripple effect that's worth spreading for sure.
yeah. Well, thank you for making the time. I know your
Thank you.
schedule is crazy busy.
Thank
And
you for this
so,
opportunity.
yeah, I will tell you right now, I'm a little jealous of your Miami weather, just a titch, but you know,
I mean,
uh,
it is something I would be jealous about too. Being from Nebraska, it is beautiful. It's so nice and refreshing to have good sun. So,
yeah,
but
so,
you always come to see me anytime. The invite is always open. We could have many more of these conversations, and I look forward to it so much. Thank you for all you do for women and mental resilience.
oh, well, thank you for being on the show today, and we will see you next time, my dear
Soon.
friend.
Can't wait.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bye,
Monica.
Brooke.